The stage was set for what promised to be a thrilling episode of Jimmy Kimmel Live on that fateful evening in May 2025, with Hollywood icon Johnny Depp slated as the headline guest. Fans were buzzing with anticipation, eager to see the charismatic star of Pirates of the Caribbean and Edward Scissorhands share his signature quirky charm and witty anecdotes. The lights dimmed, the audience roared, and Jimmy Kimmel's signature grin welcomed viewers to the show. Depp, dressed in his eclectic style, think layered scarves, a fedora, and those iconic tinted glasses, strode onto the set to a standing ovation. The energy was electric, and for the first few minutes, it seemed like the interview would be a classic late-night love fest. Kimmel lobbed soft questions about Depp's latest project, a gritty indie film that marked his return to smaller, character-driven roles. The crowd laughed at Depp's playful stories about his time on set, his love for method acting, and his penchant for collecting odd props from his films. But beneath the surface, there was a tension nobody could quite pinpoint. Perhaps it was the way Depp's smile didn't quite reach his eyes, or how Kimmel's jokes carried a slight edge. The conversation started innocently enough, with Kimmel asking about Depp's creative process and his decision to take on more experimental roles after years of blockbuster fame. Depp responded thoughtfully, diving into his passion for storytelling and his desire to challenge himself as an artist. Yet, as the interview progressed, Kimmel began to steer the discussion toward more personal territory. Depp's highly publicized legal battles, his tumultuous relationship with the media, and the infamous defamation trial with Amber Heard. The audience sensed a shift, and the atmosphere grew heavier. Depp, known for his private nature, deflected with humor at first, but his responses became shorter, his body language more guarded. Kimmel, perhaps sensing an opportunity for viral content, pressed harder, asking pointed questions about Depp's personal life that veered dangerously close to old wounds. The crowd's laughter faded, replaced by uneasy murmurs. By the time Kimmel made a quip about Depp's colorful past, the actor's jaw tightened, and his eyes flashed with something raw: anger, hurt, or both. What started as a routine promotional appearance was teetering on the edge of something explosive, and no one in the studio could look away. The moment that would soon dominate headlines was brewing, and it was clear that this wasn't going to be just another late-night chat. Depp leaned forward, his voice low but firm, and said, "Jimmy, let's keep this about the work, yeah?" It was a warning, but Kimmel didn't take the hint. Instead, he doubled down, making a comment about Depp's tabloid legacy that drew a few awkward chuckles from the audience. That was the spark. Depp's face hardened, and in a move that stunned everyone, he stood up, removed his mic, and walked off the set without another word. The camera caught Kimmel's stunned expression as the audience gasped, and producers scrambled to cut to commercial. Social media erupted within minutes, with #Depp vs Kimmel trending worldwide. The internet was divided. Some praised Depp for standing up for himself, while others criticized him for being overly sensitive. What exactly had pushed Johnny Depp to that breaking point? To understand, we need to dive deeper into the context of that night and the events leading up to it. Johnny Depp's journey to that dramatic moment on Jimmy Kimmel Live was years in the making, shaped by a career of dizzying highs and crushing lows. By 2025, Depp had already cemented his legacy as one of Hollywood's most versatile actors, capable of transforming into characters as diverse as Captain Jack Sparrow, Sweeney Todd, and Willy Wonka. His eccentric persona and commitment to his craft made him a fan favorite, but his personal life had often overshadowed his professional achievements. The early 2000s saw Depp as a heartthrob and critical darling, but by the mid-2010s, his life was unraveling in the public eye. His highly publicized divorce from Amber Heard in 2016, followed by allegations of domestic abuse from both sides, turned Depp into tabloid fodder. The 2022 defamation trial against Heard was a media circus, with every detail dissected online and in the press. Depp won the case, with the jury ruling in his favor, but the victory came at a cost. The trial exposed his struggles with addiction, his financial woes, and the toll of years spent under scrutiny. For many, it humanized him. For others, it painted him as a flawed figure who couldn't escape his past. By the time he sat down with Kimmel, Depp was in the midst of a comeback, focusing on independent projects that allowed him to reclaim his narrative. His appearance on the show was meant to signal his return to the spotlight, a chance to talk about art over gossip. But Kimmel, known for his sharp wit and tendency to push boundaries, seemed determined to stir the pot. The host's questions about the trial weren't entirely unexpected. Late-night shows thrive on topical humor, but they were delivered with a tone that felt more provocative than playful. Sources close to Depp later revealed that he'd agreed to the interview with the understanding that the focus would stay on his new film. Kimmel's pivot to personal matters felt like a betrayal of that agreement, and for Depp, it was a reminder of how the media had exploited his struggles for years. The audience, unaware of this behind-the-scenes context, was caught off guard by Depp's reaction, but those who'd followed his story understood why he might feel cornered. The clash wasn't just about one bad joke, it was the culmination of years of public battles that Depp had fought to move past. As he walked off the set, he wasn't just leaving a talk show, he was rejecting the narrative that had haunted him for nearly a decade. The fallout was immediate, with fans flooding social media to defend him, while critics argued he'd overreacted to a harmless jab. The truth, as always, lay somewhere in the middle, but one thing was clear: this moment would be remembered as a turning point in how Depp navigated his public persona. The aftermath of Johnny Depp's exit from Jimmy Kimmel Live was nothing short of a cultural firestorm. Within hours, clips of the incident were circulating on platforms like YouTube, X, and TikTok, racking up millions of views. Fans dissected every frame, analyzing Depp's body language and Kimmel's smirking delivery. Some praised Depp for taking a stand against what they saw as disrespectful questioning, while others felt he'd thrown a tantrum over a routine late-night jab. The #Depp versus Kimmel trended for days, with memes, think pieces, and hot takes flooding the internet. On X, supporters posted messages like, "Johnny's been through and Kimmel crossed a line," while detractors wrote, "If you can't handle a joke, don't do live TV." The controversy even sparked debates about the role of late-night hosts in an era where celebrities are increasingly guarded about their personal lives. Kimmel, for his part, addressed the incident on the next episode, offering a half apology that many felt leaned too heavily on humor. "Look, Johnny's a great guy, but maybe he forgot we're a comedy show," Kimmel quipped, which only fueled the backlash from Depp's fans. Behind the scenes, reports suggested that Depp's team was furious, claiming Kimmel had broken an agreement to avoid sensitive topics. Some sources even hinted that Depp had been hesitant to do the show at all, wary of how his past might be weaponized. The media frenzy wasn't just about the clash itself, it was a reflection of Depp's complicated relationship with fame. For every fan who saw him as a tortured artist wronged by the system, there was a critic who viewed him as a diva unable to handle scrutiny. The incident also reignited discussions about the 2022 trial, with some outlets rehashing old allegations and others defending Depp's right to move on. Meanwhile, the film Depp was promoting, a low-budget drama about redemption, saw a surge in interest, proving that even negative publicity can have a silver lining. By walking off, Depp had inadvertently turned the spotlight back on his work, but at what cost? The incident raised questions about whether he could ever fully escape the shadow of his past. For Kimmel, the clash was a rare misstep in an otherwise stellar career, but it didn't seem to dent his ratings. For Depp, it was a reminder that the world was still watching, waiting for his next move. As the dust settled, one thing was certain: this wasn't the last we'd hear of Johnny Depp's fiery moment on live TV. To fully grasp why Johnny Depp's walk-off resonated so deeply, we have to look at the broader context of his career and the cultural moment in 2025. Depp had spent decades crafting an image as an outsider, an artist who prioritized creativity over conformity. His roles, from quirky loners to larger-than-life icons, reflected a man who thrived on defying expectations. But the same media that once celebrated his eccentricity had turned on him during his legal battles, painting him as a troubled figure rather than a tortured genius. By 2025, the public's appetite for celebrity drama was at an all-time high, fueled by social media and a 24/7 news cycle. Late-night shows like Kimmel's thrived on this hunger, blending humor with just enough edge to keep viewers hooked. Kimmel, a master of this game, knew how to toe the line between playful and provocative, but on that night, he miscalculated. His questions about Depp's personal life weren't just about getting laughs, they were a test of how much Depp was willing to endure. For Depp, who'd spent years rebuilding his reputation, the interview felt like a trap. Walking off wasn't just an act of defiance, it was a statement about his refusal to let his past define him. Fans saw it as a powerful moment of agency, while critics called it a publicity stunt. Either way, it sparked a broader conversation about how celebrities are treated in the media. Are late-night hosts obligated to respect their guests' boundaries, or is pushing buttons part of the job? The incident also highlighted the double-edged sword of Depp's family. His fans adored his authenticity, but that same vulnerability made him a target for sensationalism. In the days that followed, some outlets speculated that Depp's exit was planned, a way to generate buzz for his new film. Others argued it was a genuine reaction from a man who'd been pushed too far. Whatever the truth, the moment tapped onto a larger cultural debate about privacy, accountability, and the price of fame. Depp's supporters saw him as a victim of a media machine that thrives on controversy, while his detractors viewed him as unable to handle the spotlight he'd spent decades chasing. The clash with Kimmel became a lightning rod for these tensions, and it showed no signs of fading from the public's consciousness. The ripple effects of Johnny Depp's clash with Jimmy Kimmel extended beyond social media and into the heart of Hollywood. Industry insiders began whispering about the incident's impact on Depp's career trajectory. Would studios hesitate to cast him, fearing he was too volatile for high-profile promotions? Or would his defiance endear him to directors looking for authentic, uncompromising talent? Early signs suggested the latter. Depp's indie film saw a spike in pre-release buys, with some calling it his best work in years. Meanwhile, Kimmel's show faced its own scrutiny. Some viewers called for a boycott, accusing the host of bullying, while others defended his right to ask tough questions. The incident also sparked a wave of think pieces about the state of late-night TV. In an era where streaming platforms and podcasts offer celebrities more control over their narratives, are traditional talk shows becoming obsolete? For Depp, the walk-off was a gamble that paid off in some ways but cost him in others. His fans rallied around him, flooding X with messages of support and turning #Stand with Depp into a trending topic. But the mainstream media was less kind, with some outlets painting him as unprofessional. Behind closed doors, Depp's team was reportedly working overtime to manage the fallout, emphasizing his commitment to his craft over tabloid drama. Kimmel, meanwhile, seemed unfazed, leaning into the controversy with his trademark sarcasm. Yet, there were hints that the incident had rattled him. Insiders claimed he was frustrated by the backlash and felt misunderstood. The clash also reignited interest in Depp's past, with some outlets digging up old interviews to argue he'd always been difficult. Others pointed to his resilience, noting how he'd bounced back from worse scandals. For the public, the incident was a Rorschach test of what you saw in Depp's exit depended on what you thought of him before. Was he a hero standing up to a callous host, or a diva who couldn't take a joke? The truth likely lay in the gray area, but nuance doesn't go viral. As the story continued to dominate headlines, it became clear that this moment would be a defining one for both Depp and Kimmel, shaping how they navigated their respective careers in a media landscape that thrives on chaos. The Johnny Depp-Jimmy Kimmel clash also shed light on the evolving dynamics between celebrities and the media in 2025. Late-night shows, once a staple of Hollywood promotion, were facing new challenges. Audiences now had access to unfiltered celebrity content through platforms like X, where stars could speak directly to fans. Depp, who'd always been selective about interviews, was part of a growing trend of actors bypassing traditional media to control their own stories. His walk-off was seen by some as a rejection of the old-school talk show format, where hosts hold the power to shape narratives. Kimmel, a veteran of the game, was caught off guard by Depp's refusal to play along. The incident sparked debates about whether hosts like Kimmel need to adapt to a new era of celebrity sensitivity. Some argued that late-night TV thrives on spontaneity and edge, and that Depp should have expected tough questions. Others countered that celebrities deserve respect, especially those like Depp who've endured years of public scrutiny. The clash also highlighted the role of social media in amplifying these moments. Within minutes of Depp's exit, fans were sharing clips and creating memes, turning a fleeting TV moment into a global phenomenon. Posts ranged from heartfelt defenses of Depp to snarky jabs at Kimmel, with some users even creating parody videos reenacting the clash. The incident also prompted comparisons to other infamous talk show moments, like Kanye West's rant on Jimmy Fallon or Joaquin Phoenix's awkward Letterman interview. But Depp's walk-off felt different. It wasn't just about eccentricity or publicity, it was personal. For many fans, it was a reminder of how deeply the media's obsession with Depp's personal life had wounded him. For others, it was a sign that he needed to toughen up. The polarized reactions underscored a broader cultural divide. Those who empathize with celebrities as human beings versus those who see them as fair game for entertainment. As the story unfolded, it became clear that this wasn't just about one bad interview. It was about the collision of old media, new media, and a star who refused to be defined by either. As the weeks passed, the Johnny Depp-Jimmy Kimmel clash began to take on a life of its own, becoming a case study in how quickly narratives can spiral in the digital age. Depp's walk-off was no longer just a moment, it was a symbol. For his fans, it represented a man reclaiming his dignity after years of being dragged through the mud. For his critics, it was evidence of a fragile ego unable to handle the spotlight. Both sides had valid points, but the truth was more complex. Depp had spent years navigating a media landscape that loved to build him up only to tear him down. His legal battles, particularly the 2022 trial, had left scars that were still fresh. Kimmel's questions, while not malicious, tapped into those wounds, and Depp's reaction was less about one comment than the cumulative weight of a decade of scrutiny. The incident also raised questions about accountability. Should Kimmel have anticipated Depp's sensitivity, or was Depp's exit an overreaction? Some argued that late-night hosts need to be more mindful in an era where mental health and personal boundaries are taken seriously. Others felt that celebrities like Depp, who thrive on public adoration, can't pick and choose when to face tough questions. The debate played out across platforms, with ex-users posting side-by-side clips of Depp's past interviews to show how he'd handled similar situations with grace before. Meanwhile, Kimmel's defenders pointed to his track record of handling controversial guests without incident. The clash also had a surprising side effect. It humanized both men. Depp's vulnerability was on full display, reminding fans that even icons have breaking points. Kimmel, usually unflappable, showed the rare moment of discomfort as he scrambled to fill the airtime after Depp's exit. For viewers, it was a glimpse behind the curtain of a carefully choreographed industry. The incident also boosted interest in Depp's new film, with early screenings selling out in major cities. Some speculated that the walk-off was a calculated move to generate buzz, but those close to Depp insisted it was spontaneous. Whatever the case, the clash became a defining moment of 2025, a year already marked by cultural shifts and celebrity reckonings. Looking back, the Johnny Depp-Jimmy Kimmel clash was more than just a viral moment, it was a snapshot of a changing entertainment landscape. For Depp, it was a chance to draw a line in the sand, signaling that he was done letting the media dictate his story. His walk-off, while controversial, resonated with fans who saw it as an act of self-preservation. For Kimmel, it was a rare misstep that highlighted the risks of pushing a guest too far. The incident didn't destroy either man's career, but it left a lasting impact. Depp's film went on to earn critical acclaim, with many praising his raw, unfiltered performance, a fitting parallel to his real-life defiance. Kimmel, meanwhile, bounced back with his usual charm, but the backlash made him more cautious with future guests. The clash also sparked a broader conversation about how we treat celebrities in the public eye. Are they fair game for probing questions, or do they deserve the same respect as anyone else? The polarized reactions showed that there's no easy answer. On X, the conversation continued for months, with fans and critics alike dissecting every angle of the incident. Some saw it as a victory for Depp, proof that he could still command attention and loyalty. Others saw it as a reminder that fame comes with the price, one that Depp, for all his talent, was still paying. The clash also underscored the power of social media to shape narratives in real time. What happened on that stage was fleeting, but the internet made it eternal. As 2025 drew to a close, the incident remained a touchstone for debates about privacy, media ethics, and the human cost of celebrity. For Johnny Depp, it was a moment of reclaiming his voice, even if it meant walking away. For Jimmy Kimmel, it was a lesson in the fine line between humor and harm. And for the rest of us, it was a reminder that even in the glitz and glamour of Hollywood, raw human emotion can still steal the show.